Are you a mom who loves fun, momming, and protecting your family? If you want to meet some of the most amazing people from all over the gun world and beyond, you are in the right place. Tune in for encouragement and sometimes just courage for moms and women just like you, who are curious about shooting but are intimidated or just don't know where to start. Hey, all you tough mothers. Today, I've got Rebecca Michael from Amped Up Custom Hearing Protection. Rebecca has been making incredible custom hearing protection since 2017. She started her company when she began taking shooting lessons and noticed that custom earplugs were the absolute best solution for hearing protection while shooting, but discovered it was really hard to find a qualified person to make them. So Amped Up Custom Hearing Protection LLC creates high quality and affordable custom earplugs for a fraction of the cost of an audiologist office. They have custom electronic earplug options as well. Rebecca has a huge smile and a big personality. I got to meet her personally at my range and absolutely loved her. She makes every earplug fitting a fun experience. I had that amazing thing. I've got them right here. Rebecca, I would love to hear about kind of more about how you got into it and your whole story.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for having me today. This is really cool. And I want to tell everybody that I managed to survive this whole pandemic without a single Zoom call as a business owner. And you drug me into this. So I will do my best. This is my first time. I'm not a technology guru. But anyways, hopefully this will go smoothly. So the reason I became interested in custom hearing protection was when I took my first shooting lesson at the range. My only option was those huge earmuffs, and they're very uncomfortable. They mess up your hair, they squeeze your ears, give you a headache. I hated them. I really enjoyed the shooting experience, but I felt like the whole time during my instruction, I was going crunch, pull, crunch, pull, because every time you move your earmuffs, you also have to move your eye protection. So it was just so distracting. I was like, there's got to be something better than this. So I really enjoyed the first class, talked to some other people, and they were like, yeah, have you ever seen those custom earplugs? I'm like, no. And I just happened to be doing a CCW class all day at C2 Tactical on a Saturday. And there was a guy there that was making custom earplugs. This was when they first opened. So this was like 8 years ago, I think, 8 or 9 years ago. So anyways, I got my earplugs made a few weeks later, but it was really hard to get a hold of this guy. He just does it as a hobby. And so what I found out years later, I was still using my earplugs for swimming, for sleeping. I'd use them in the car when all my kids had their little electronic devices going and yelling at each other, she's touching me.
You have just given me like 4 more uses for my earplugs right now.
Right? I know. Everybody needs custom earplugs for something, especially if you're a mom. So anyways, I would wear them on long road trips. And so anyways, I started thinking that I would kind of like to have my own business doing something. So I was doing some brainstorming, and all of a sudden I remembered my earplugs. And I remembered how hard it was to find anybody that makes them. And so I did some market research. I'm a certified back office medical assistant, so I've been doing procedures on people's bodies for 25 years. So it's not weird to me to, touch people and explain to them a process and things like that. That just comes natural to me. So I did some market research and had a lot of sleepless nights trying to figure out a name for my company. And I would literally wake up in the middle of the night and be like, ooh, that's a good one. And I would write it down and then go back to sleep. And then the next morning I would Google it. I'm like, dang it, somebody already has that name. So this went on for, a couple months. And then I finally got one that worked, that nobody else had. And so I went through a very steep learning curve of all the business paperwork that you have to do to start up a business. And when I decide I'm going to do something, I make it happen. And with no business training whatsoever, I created my LLC. got everything registered, had a logo created for my company, all those things that you need to do. And I've just met some incredible people along the way. You know, the general managers of the ranges have just been so instrumental in me being able to be successful. So I'm always thankful that so many people saw what I was doing and thought that it was a valid and needed product.
It's huge. Like, I just, 2 points there. Like, when you're saying like the general managers were super supportive and everything, the more people I talk to in this industry, it's a really like cool community. People are really supportive of one another. And I know that hasn't always been the case, but I think in the last, like, I don't know, 10 years or something, there's been this shift where everybody's kind of come together, and I found it's really supportive. So I love hearing that they're like, yeah, we're going to support you. We're going to help you. We want to like engage people, and they realize the value in that, especially being a woman, like shooting,
right. And
typically seen as like a male dominated thing.
Absolutely. It's a male dominated area, you know, in the past, but that's not true anymore. And what's really neat to see is over the past 4 years that I've been working in the same handful of ranges all over the valley. During that time, I have seen so many more women, so many more families getting involved in the shooting sports, and it's really neat to see that, because you know, self-defense and being responsible for your own safety is something that we can't take for granted. You know, it's something that we need to be in charge of. With, you know, you and I being in the gun ranges this past year and a half, we have seen how, you know, it depends on where you live, whether you can feel safe or not. And even in these expensive upscale neighborhoods in, you know, Oregon or Washington or whatever, where all these rioting has been going on, you can see that sometimes if you call the police, they're not going to come. And sometimes if you call the police, they're not going to get there in time. So, you know, throughout history, it has been a person's responsibility to take control of their own life and to be responsible for their own safety and their family's safety. And I think it's very refreshing to see that people are finally coming back around to being responsible for themselves, because that's what we should do. No one owes us anything.
Nope. So. No, and I love that. Like, I love seeing like other women and moms, especially like in the ranges, because I feel like it's always been, it's kind of intimidating, right? Like, you walk in and there's mostly guys, there's lots of tactical gear around, and you know, you're kind of uncomfortable, but then like you get to meet people and they almost instantly treat you like family, which is,
they do.
Is really cool. Yeah. It's like this common love for something.
Yeah. You're here. You like guns. I like guns. You love America.
Let's do this.
You love your freedom. Yay. You know, we're all friends. It's super easy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I just love that. And, and I love meeting people, like super cool people like you. Like, so my neighbor told me about this custom ear protection, and I have a extremely loud muzzle brake on my AR. Like, when I go into the range and shoot it, and sometimes I take video from the side, inevitably the guy next to me will always do this, like look of like, what are you shooting? Like, it's amazing. And even if I doubled up my ear protection, so I use like the regular earbuds and then my over the ear muffs, like I was still getting that like plugged up feeling, especially like in my left ear, because I'm left-handed. And so I was telling that to my neighbor, Mike, who was like, oh, you got to check out this girl. She comes in to see too. She'll make you this custom ear stuff. And I'm like, yeah. I've got custom ear stuff. Like, I ordered it and I made it and I molded it and I stuck it in and it's fine, but it didn't really work. But he's like, no, this is the best. You got to try it. So I went in and you discovered that it's like, I have like the tiniest ear holes ever, apparently. That's the problem. Like,
very tiny ear canals.
Pediatric size. So that's why they weren't fitting me, but I would have never knew. Never.
Right. And a lot of people have different size ear canals on the same person. So it's not uncommon for people to have one ear that's not being protected at all, because maybe this one's really small and this one's much larger, but you're only grabbing one packet of those foam earplugs. And,
Right.
I want to talk about the foam earplugs because it is so difficult for people to insert those correctly. And especially if you're taking your children out shooting, they're not the best at knowing what what foam earplugs should feel like. And they don't really know how loud is too loud because they're kids. And so a
Right.
lot of times parents have the best intention and they're rolling up their earplugs and trying to get them in there really fast before they expand. You know how that works. And with a little kid, it just stinks because they're moving all the time, they're talking all the time, they're chewing gum, they're eating snacks, and those things just start popping out. And hearing loss is cumulative. So that means that the earlier you're exposed to loud noises, over time, you're going to lose your hearing if you're not protecting it. So sometimes I talk to some parents and they're like, oh, well, they're growing too fast. So I don't want to invest in custom hearing protection right now because they're growing too fast. Well, that's exactly why they need hearing protection that fits them perfectly every time. And with the solid custom earplug, you can't put it in wrong. All they have to do is look at their kid and they can tell that it's in correctly. As to
Right.
with the foam earplugs, you don't know really what's going on with those. You just cram them in there and hope for the best and hope they don't fall out while someone's
Right.
shooting. But with the custom earplug, the kids aren't going to mind wearing them. They look really cool. They have a lot of fun during the process. Little kids are sometimes better at getting their earplugs made than grown-ups. Because some of the grown-ups are like, when I'm touching their ear, they're like all jumpy. And the little kids are great. I give them, a syringe to play with or, some of the other tools of my trade. I give them something to play with. They're completely entertained. They get to pick out what color combinations they like. They can do crazy stuff, like pink and orange or yellow and green or, whatever they want to do. And they feel empowered by getting to choose what their earplugs look like. And so it's really fun to watch the kids get them made.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, they love them. And it just takes a lot of the worry out for the parents because you can tell they're in correctly just by looking at their ear. It'll be
Right.
flush and you know it's in.
Yeah.
Also, these custom earplugs are great for little kids who have problems with ear infections. The product that I use is actually indicated for swimming as well.
Oh,
And they do float, and I have plastic lanyards for people who want to use them in the pool instead of the cord, the nylon cord. So, there's a lot of uses for them. And, little kids that have holes in their eardrum, they have tubes, whatever, they can use these at the splash pad. They can wear them to the pool. They can use them in showering. And again, the parent knows they're in right just by looking at it. So
that's great. That's perfect. Yeah, I'm going to have to bring my son in. 'Cause he loves to get in the pool and loves going underwater, but then later he'll be like, my ear hurts or something like
yeah,
that. So
it really helps
I'll bring
prevent.
him in. Again, you saw him. He's just all over
Yeah.
the place.
He's
He loves
adorable.
monster trucks too. So we would go to all the monster truck rallies and I got him those over the ear muffs.
Yeah.
He wouldn't leave them on. He was just not, he would just play with them or take them off. And it was just super fresh. I gave up, but I'm like, well, he's going to go deaf, I guess.
No,
It's either him going deaf later or me going deaf when he cries about it in the car on the way home.
well, now there's a better option. The youngest person that I have ever made earplugs on was a baby who's 14 months old. And she sat on her mom's lap, and I gave her the little measuring spoons to play with, and I made her earplugs, and she was so good. It didn't faze her at all. And it was so
That's
cute.
awesome.
Her earplugs were this big.
Aw.
They were adorable. And she did the process really well. And she was barely over a year old. But she
That's
has
awesome.
she has tubes in her ears, so that's why her parents wanted her to have those because they had been trying the wax ones that you buy at the store and you just kind of mash them in really hard and hope they work.
Right.
So they were really happy to have one that just rotates into place, boom. And then the nice thing is the little kids, they don't really have the dexterity to rotate those out of their ear very easily, which
Nice.
is
So it
nice.
stays put.
The babies and the toddlers, if they're kind of poking at them and stuff, they can't really take them out themselves yet, which is nice.
That's awesome. So cool. And just, like I knew I had good stuff, like when, my neighbor was telling me like how amazing these are, but like these have been amazing. Like I went shooting with these, both indoor, outdoor, with my super loud muzzle brake, and no ringing, no like sensitivity after. It was phenomenal, like just phenomenal. So super, super happy with them. They're, pink and gray and
awesome.
Super cute. Very happy with them. So thank you for that.
I'm happy.
Rebecca, if people want to reach out to you and want to get custom ear protection, how can they do that?
Well, the easiest way to find me is just to Google me. You can Google my company name, Amped Up Custom Hearing Protection, or you can Google Amped Up Ear Pro. I have my case here. I'm not sure how this is going to work because, like I said, this is my first time. But anyway,
I'll include a link and like maybe the QR code and like our little show notes.
Yeah, they can get the info from you. But that's the easiest way is just to Google me, and you'll see my Facebook. You'll see I have Instagram. You'll see I have a website. The best way to find my schedule is to go directly to the Amped Up Custom Hearing Protection Facebook page, because that is where I create an event. All of those events are public that I put on there. So nobody needs an appointment. They can just show up anytime and get those done. I also go out to companies and make employee hearing protection.
Oh.
So if anybody out there has a spouse who has to wear earplugs at work all day long and they hate those orange foam earplugs, they can talk to their safety director and say, hey, I know this lady that makes custom earplugs. I've done probably over 1,000 sets now for Empire Caterpillar and some other companies around town. So they love my product. I've been working with Caterpillar for over 2 years now. And I've picked up a couple other companies as well. I'd like to do more, with employees. Can you imagine wearing foam earplugs for 8 or 10 hours a day?
I would lose my mind.
I would lose my mind. I can't even stand them for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So, they make your ear really sore. With the foam earplugs have to keep expanding or they fall out. So What happens is it's stretching your ear canal the whole time that they're in. So then when you take them out, when you push on this cartilage right here, it's actually very sore. So I'm always happy when I meet people who want these for sleeping, because they're sleeping in them 8 hours a night. And now they have a perfect mold of their ear with the custom earplugs, so they don't have to have that foam falling out in the middle of the night and cramming it back in.
That's awesome. All right. So anybody in the Phoenix metropolitan area that needs hearing protection for guns, for loud music, for annoying children, road trips, sleeping, swimming, or just not wanting to listen to your spouse for an extended period of time, reach out to Rebecca at Amped Up Custom Ear Protection, either on Facebook or on Instagram, and I'll post all those links down below. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. Tough mothers out there, make sure that you protect your ears. Like, you do not want to go deaf later. It really is crucial to have that protection and make sure that you're saving your hearing for later, so that when your kids are destroying something in your house, you could be like, know what's going on.
Yes, and always keep in mind that custom earplugs are way less expensive than hearing aids. So
Absolutely. Thank you again, Rebecca. You're amazing. I really appreciate it.
I look forward
to
guys. Over at C2.
You get it. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Great job. You made it to the end. You are one tough mother. If you enjoyed this podcast and want to support the work that we do and keep the good lovin' coming, subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you're listening. What's that? You're one of those crazy mother followers that wants more of this nonsense? You got it. Subscribe to the Moms Love Guns YouTube channel, follow us at Moms Love Guns on Instagram, and join our free private Facebook group to connect with other women just like you in an encouraging and non-judgmental community. If you want to share even more love, share your new favorite community with a friend or all of your friends, maybe even a few enemies, just to be safe. Get out there, overcome your fears, be not afraid. You have got this.